So in that period, after I moved to Brisbane, hired a guy called John Roberts and worked with John for a very long time, since 1995, and he's now a QT as well, flourishing career in robotics. We worked on a number of really interesting projects in that period at CSIRO. We worked on automating dragline excavators. And draglines are massive machines. They're like cranes. They weigh 3,000–4,000 tons, pick up 100 tons of dirt at a time from a pit and put it onto a spoil pile to uncover coal. And they're manually operated machines. Productivity is an issue. So we figured, well, it's a machine. It's just like a robot, but bigger. You know, how hard could it be to turn that machine into a robot where it's driven by a computer instead of being driven by a human. And so we did a lot of work on that, did a lot of field work. I would spend maybe a week at a mine, actually inside the dragline, hacking code and trying to make it do things. The dragline project, that first attempt at the dragline automation, we got some way, but within there was probably a mining crash, as happens reasonably often. That project got shelved and we revived it in the early 2000s. We also worked on an underground driving project. So there are these machines called load haul dump units. They're like front end loaders, fairly squat, and they drive through underground mine tunnels with a scoop full of ore. So they pick it up from where the ore's been brought down, and they drop it into a crusher or something like that. And they're driven by people, and people can be injured or killed if the roof collapses. The industry was experimenting with remote control, so the operator would perhaps stand next to the machine with a remote control box, drive the machine into a stope, pick up some ore, and then bring it out, and then hop back on. The reason you don't drive it, the driver doesn't go into the stope is because it's been recently blasted that doesn't have a stable roof. So you can't put a human in there. You can put a machine in, but not a human. And so we developed a self-driving system for these vehicles that would drive these machines at 20 kilometers an hour through underground tunnels with about this much clearance on either side. And that was a wonderful project. We did a lot of field work at mines in Queensland and in New South Wales. Technology was licensed to Caterpillar and actually became a product. So people could buy that tech in a product from Caterpillar. And so it's in use today.
Yeah, would that have been the start of looking into autonomy with vehicles?
There was a long history of autonomous driving outside the mining industry. So people have been looking at autonomy for road vehicles, passenger cars, for a long time. Like Jonathan, who I mentioned a moment ago, he worked on a British European self-driving car project before he came to us at CSIRO. So that would have been an early 90s project looking at passenger car automation. So you can trace it back probably even a decade before that. So you got all excited about Google cars and self-driving Teslas at the moment. There is a very long history going back to the 80s. The technology's improved massively, which makes it more practical, but people were doing long road trips at high speed on regular roads back in the 80s and 90s.